to the Seasoned Butcher. Well, on today's episode, we're going to show you how to make some of these wild turkey Polish sausages. Now, for you guys that are sitting there, I know turkey season's all wrapped up, but you may have some of that turkey that you've harvested earlier this season sitting there in that freezer. Well, instead of waiting until season creeps up on you again next year, how about we pull that out, and you know how prices are going and how meat prices are going up and up. Pull that turkey out and let's make something with it that can be very cost effective and a very, very tasty treat that you guys will come back and put that on your list to make over and over again. So, before we hop into this video, hit that like, hit that subscribe, but also any of the products that you see in this video, go down in our description and we're going to have a link to our site where you can find them products, and we're going to have a link in the description that you can find the exact seasoning that we're using with detailed instructions also. So, let's get started. Now on today's video, we're going to be joined by Hilgemann, the CEO of Hunter Nation, and his two sons. Now, we're going to be using some of the turkey and his two sons harvested during the youth hunt just the weekend before. So now with these two young boys that we're going to be showing in the video today, they have never made meat before. This is the first time that they've ever sat down and actually made sausage. So what you're going to see throughout this video is anybody can do this. If you have the right instructions, the right process to follow, you will be able to make a quality product just like this. So now what we're going to do is these Polish sausage is we're going to do our meat prep and get our meat ready for the grinder. So one of the first steps that you're going to do is today we're going to be using a 70-30 ratio of turkey to pork. Now, our pork is pork butt, to give you guys an idea of what our pork and fat ratio is. So, we're going to be using pork butt, we're going to be using 70% pork, 30% turkey, and we're making a 25-pound batch of fresh Polish sausage. And what I mean by fresh is we're not smoking this and it has no cure. So you treat this just like a regular brat when you go to cook this, except for you need to bring the internal temp up to 165 degrees. So to get started, what you're going to do is we took the turkey and we're using turkey breasts and a few thighs, and what you're going to do is you're going to clean off all the feathers, and if you see any BB holes that come down into that meat, what I want you to do is cut down that BB hole, open it up, and you're going to check to see if there's a BB in there, because you don't want to chew on that. But also is when you shoot that bird, is that BB will suck a feather in right into that meat. So you're checking for any feathers that got sucked into that hole so you can pluck them out. What you're going to do with your turkey is you're going to cut that into 2-inch to 2-inch cubes for reference, probably about the size of a golf ball, so it can go through the grinder. Now after you get your turkey all cut up, now we're going to move on to your pork. Now our pork butts, all we're going to do is debone the pork butts, leave all the fat on them, but also we're going to cut them up into 2-inch by 2-inch cubes, or big enough that can go through the throat of your grinder depending on what size you have. After you get that all cut up into 2-inch cubes to get ready to go through the grinder, then we're going to run it through a number 32 limb grinder with a 12.5 millimeter plate. Now as you can see here, As they're putting this meat down through the grinder, this number 32 is pretty impressive. But one of the most important things is you want to keep your meat as cold as you can without being an ice chunk to put it through your grinder. You don't want your meat just sitting out being warm, because what happens, not only is it not food safe, but it's hard on the grinder and you lose some of your texture of your meat. The colder your meat is, even it can be a little crystally, the better, is when you feed that through and that auger grabs it, when that blade goes around on the plate, it actually cuts your meat, where if it's really soft and warm, it's going to tear your meat and create more of a mush, where if it's frozen, it'll be nice sharp cuts and you'll have nice meaty cubes. Now after you run all your meat through this 12.5 millimeter grinder plate, we're going to hop into the seasoning. We're going to be using the fresh Polish sausage seasoning. All of our seasonings are handmade. They're made right here in Thorpe, Wisconsin. This is not some big factory. We're not getting it overseas. We're not pounding it out from somewhere else and just slapping our label on it. This is all custom, handmade seasonings right in-house. So we're pretty proud of that here. We don't skimp on flavor. So now we're going to take the seasoning with the water, and it'll say right on the package of seasoning how much water goes into this batch. And you're going to take your seasoning and you're going to mix half the seasoning, half the water. Mix that up thoroughly. Then you're going to take the other seasoning and the other water and mix that up thoroughly. The reason why I don't use a meat mixer, and this is just personal preference, I know lots of guys got them, is you got to be touchy with your meat mixer because it can really pound your meat. And what will happen is some guys will overmix and it'll break down the meat fibers and it'll create a mushier product, finished product at the end. So what I like to do is we mixed in all of our seasoning, and now what we're going to do is we're going to run it through a 4.5 millimeter grinder plate. Now the big difference here is this is my finished grind. The reason why I like putting my seasoning in between these two steps is this final grind with the 4.5 millimeter grinder plate helps mix in the seasoning as it grinds. Also, in between these steps, say you're some guys that are doing 100 pounds, 150 pounds, maybe it's 500 pounds. In between these steps, I recommend that you put your meat back in the refrigerator or a freezer to help keep it cool throughout this whole entire process. It's easier on the grinder, it's easier on the stuffer, it's all around. Not only is it food safe, but it's also easier on the equipment. So after it's all ground through, this second grind, we're going to hop into stuffing. Now today, we're going to be using a 30-pound electric Lem stuffer. Now, this is a Cadillac of stuffing. This stuffer here. It has a foot control. It has a speed setting on it so you can dial it up and down, so you can go as fast or as slow. So what I'm going to be doing with this 30-pound stuffer is when you go and put your meat in this chamber, what I want you to do is fill the hopper, pack it in nicely. Just don't fill it all the way up to the top and go. Put only 4 or 5 inches in, pack it all down. Put 4 or 5 inches in, pack it all down. So what that's going to do is when you're filling your casing on this horn, you're not going to get air pockets that are coming out. Now for these Polish sausage, I'm going to be using a number 32 collagen casing, and that's what I'm going to be filling today. But the reason why I go to the collagen casings is it's not expensive. it is cheaper than the natural casings, and I find that the casings are always consistent on the snap and the texture. They've never done this before, but this is how easy it is with this stuffer being able to dial it down, and now they're stuffing just like a pro. This will be the closest thing to locker plant style. I personally think it's better because we can custom make this to our own liking. Locker plant, they got one recipe, and that's the way they make it. Then we head to the linking and twisting. So, when it comes to linking and twisting, what I like to do, because every brat bun is about 6 inches, is take a tape measure, make a little marker, whatever you want to do. Maybe it's a ruler, maybe it's a piece of string, maybe it's a pencil. Who knows what it is? Just lay it down as a reference. That's about 6 inches long, and that's where you're going to use as your measure marker so you can start twisting these Polish sausage. So what you're going to do is measure one length, smoosh together, pinch together I should say, slide it down, pinch the other end so you have 6 inches, and twist one way. Now, you're going to keep on moving down the line, pinch again, slide it down one, pinch the other end, and twist it the opposite way. Never twist the same lengths back to back in the same direction. You want to go opposite. Now what I'm going to do after I twist all these up like this is I'm going to leave them in the meat tub, put them in the refrigerator just like that, and leave them set overnight. It helps let the seasoning, well, I should say the meat and the seasonings marry together. It helps it bloom. It actually, the seasoning and the meat marries together overnight, so you're going to have a more flavorful sausage. Now, after this is all said and done, they sat all night. What you're going to do is pull them out, cut them, and package them whichever way you want. I challenge you guys, get out a notebook. Be able to write these recipes down. Write what you like and what you don't like. And so the next time when you come back to the drawing board to make your products, you have something to go off in. Especially if you're a guy that only makes this once a year. Now you don't have to sit there and try to remember. You go back to your recipe book, open it up, and take notes on it. Not only what went into it and how much of it, but write. Give it a 5-star review, 1 through 5. See, what you change different. Put little notes in there. Would love, add a little extra ounce and a half, 2 ounces of cracked black pepper. Maybe it's 1 ounce of garlic. This is a nice thing about home butchering. And now you're ready to enjoy that harvest that you took this spring. Not only did it save you money, but now you got your family going, oh my God, we need you to get out there and go hunting some more so you can bring back some tasty treats.
Oh, really done.
So thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to taste the tradition.